everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are taking a look at all of the mega crews from Street Man Fighter. I know so many people have been waiting for this particular portion of the season for me to take a look at. I cannot wait to take a look at these as well. I have them put in the order of their scoring, so regardless of the order in which you choose to watch these, I know I did start with YGX and I finished with Just Jerk, and I'm going to be approaching my feedback accordingly based on the lineup. On top of that, I also did my best to try to figure out what the criteria was so I can tailor my feedback towards that. But once again, know that my job scope and my perspective is not based on the competition reality TV side of dance shows. It is more on the competition side, where there is rules and regulations and very specific things you have to follow. So please take some of my analysis or feedback with that level of grace, or if I do approach or say something that may feel out of pocket, that it could just be because I'm looking at it from a lens that I'm normally used to looking at mega crews. So I really hope that you guys enjoy these, and I hope they're beneficial, and we're gonna go ahead and get into them.
This way, Just Jerk.
They're flight attendants or pilots. So clean. It's those basket runs again. Whoa. That was cool. I love that. Yeah. Yes. Musicality of these breaking crew is phenom. Yeah. Okay. I was still able to see it even though we have these beautiful little little things here. Okay, I understand why they placed first, because I do know that they won this one. I understand why. I will say that I think I didn't react to this one as aggressively as I have reacted to the other ones. And I think part of it's because I was so focused on what they were doing, because a lot of it is very complex and advanced on the musicality and timing sense. So I was really honed in and focused on what they were trying to do. They walk forward. Okay. So my initial thoughts with this very beginning is because here we go. I've already reacted to the dance rank mission, and there was the whole dispute about Vata's choreography, and I already touched on that on the plagiarism case between ATEEZ and Vata, and if you're curious about my thoughts, you can go there. But I want to say something about this here. People have probably already talked about it. This formation with a single person and then utilizing everybody to complement what this person's doing, whether it's through tutting or through waving or for whatever. There was a very viral instance of something like this happening. I don't know where. I don't know if it was America or somewhere, but it's very viral worldwide, that whole instance. And you may know what I'm talking about. I don't even know who it was, but it's something that I have already seen, and I've seen people replicate. I've seen on music shows. I've seen that guy who made this type of thing with gloves. He did it with gloves, and everyone's wearing black, so they had the visuals of the hands. So what I'll say here is their content is different than that, but the formation and presence and intention is not. So for me, my big note to how they started this here is I know what's coming. It's very predictable what they're about to do, which is about to mess up this musicality track in the best way possible, but it's predictable, so I'm not shocked by it. Does that make sense? If they wanted a shock value, they probably got it from a lot of people, but for me, if I'm looking at it, the first thing in my head wasn't, oh wow, that's really cool, the execution that they're doing. It was I've seen this formation before, and I'm predicting what they're about to do, and I was able to predict it. And I think that's a really big note. Honestly, at the end of the day, they won this challenge, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. But if they didn't win, that could have been a component as to why. I love that. And also something needs to be said. They've always been known as a clean crew. I have done an analysis already on their Body Rock set where they won first back in 2016. You can check that out as well. I love Just Jerk's cleanliness and their fundamental execution. I love the variations they choose to do. They're very clean. They're very precise. And it helps you enjoy when they choose to be unison. It doesn't bother you as much because they're so clean. It adds this, it doesn't feel real how clean they are, and that's what adds to the difficulty and aesthetic of their unison, because they're not doing simple things. They're doing pretty complex things that you normally don't see a bunch of people do at the same time, but also look strikingly similar. So that's a big note. So what's really important here is they are hitting everything, and everybody has to hit their micro count in this. It's really difficult to count that, and so practicing it is hard, but also they are doing a great job of showcasing the levels. But I've already said my point about it. I feel like that would have affected, if I actually had any say in this, that would have affected how this started off for me. It felt very, I could reference it very easily, but how they're executing the difficulty of it is fabulous. I love their approach here. That they're here into the how they're bleeding out into is very clean, precise, and everybody has to be on the same page with their range on top of the actual angle and position, which they're doing a phenomenal job of. This right here, that's different than this. I've referenced it off of another crew. They were doing more of a jerking motion, and I know they're called Just Jerk. This was more of a vibration, so you see it's smaller, and that's how you can take note that they're actually fundamentally executing it as a vibration. And that's what I love about that part, and it feels more refined because it's technically correct. Love that you have a little bit of everybody gets to express themselves and do their own personal little freedom. And they had a little bit of a reverberation at the tail end, which made it a little bit more dense, which was fun. They drop out. But you guys know what I'm about to say. The basket runs. That's something that Just Jerk, I think they sacrificed creating new ways to get on and off the stage for the sake of, if you're going to commit to doing a basket run, then what you're about to do better be worth it. And every time that they choose to do a basket run, it's worth it. So I think it's fine that they choose to do it, but I think they could have gotten even more scoreage, I think, by it. As they come up and they go down. Now look here. The aerial view, how they all shot up at the same time is what really made it look really crisp and refined. So here we've already kind of touched on this. It's really nice. Yeah, and how they kick out and going down, and then they come back up. Very, very difficult sequences they're executing, not even a minute in. And they walk forward. They're all down except for Young Jae, and just having them all shoot up was super fun. How they hit everything. Very, very technically sound, and I really like it. My only note is a lot of their movement is isolating of the torso, so they don't engage a ton. They don't really have as much of a groove in this like a lot of the other crews do, but it worked in their favor because of the context of their movement that they're going before, middle, and after. It works, and it looks nice, and it makes sense, and they're not repeating content really that much at all. I like that dun dun dun, very unison. They're all changing angles. They're still hearing they're delegating polyrhythmic sounds. So they have the people in the back and the people on the sides. They are, you know, as a crew goes around, another part of them go around and hear that whoa. They don't have to worry about that sound because it's already justified, and they're able to go about and do their own thing, which is really, really nice. I love that where they hit that sound, they bring it around. So that's a really good example of they are utilizing their unison in various levels. And that's why I don't think it bothers me here in comparison to other ones. It feels like I need more diversity between the unison sections. Here they do a lot of unison, but I think it's just what I said. They're not just staying on the midline. They're going up high, they're dropping low, and they're doing it in ways that are unexpected. And I think that's really helpful in this case. That boom, 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 boom towards the camera, super fun. This is gorgeous. I remember seeing them doing something similar to this at Body Rock, but it wasn't this variation, but this is something I think it met my expectations. I feel like each crew met my expectations, and they all looked like each other. And I think that's the benefit of it. And I think some crews thrive in a mega crew situation, and other crews survive and do better in the battle scene. And some crews do better in replication of movement and choreography like dance rank. And some crews do better when they're trying to perform for an artist. So these are all different. This is a very different skill set for a mega crew than it is for choreographing for Rain or trying to create a dance concept video with 8 people. Very different. And so Just Jerk, they've had, I think out of most crews, they've had the most experience with large numbers or creating these types of clean visuals in a competitive sense. So it makes sense why they are executing it in this way. They know how to pull out all the stops when and where, which is really nice. And I love the fact that you have your middle, he's framing out, and then they go and they drop down, around to the front. That was really cool where they went down first, my front person here, and everybody else kind of slowed. I think they slowed down. That's what happened. And they did a fan. That was really cool. Almost didn't pop up. Glad they made it though. There's the basket runs again. The basket runs make it feel clean and refined. So I think that's something that I will always want there to be something more than just a basket run, but I understand it actually matches more in this mega crew than the basket runs have matched in all the other mega crews I've seen because of the refinement of the cleanliness. Something that I've always talked about with Just Jerk, at least whenever I've watched them, is the beauty of less is more sometimes. When one person is doing something that is simple, but you have 15 other people doing something that is that simple too, but they do it on the exact count, or they're all hitting complex timing in a simple move, that's where it's appropriate to compensate. There's a balance. Like, it's even more impressive if you can do something complex with complex timing, but sometimes doing something simple with complex timing or something complex on simple timing, those are part of the balances that I've been referencing throughout all the mega crews. And I really think they are known to me. I always, when I think about them, when I watch them perform, and I've seen them at different competitions, the first time I'm seeing their mega crew set here, which is kind of cool. I do appreciate whenever they do, one person does a move, but they do it the same exact way that somebody else does, and that enhances the overall aesthetic as a group. This looks like a group, you know? And I know some of the people from you know, they're all different people and they have different styles and stuff, but it's really cool how everything meshes well together. And you get to see different genres impact here. It's nice. This whole thing, it's really nice. It's tasteful. That peel out, that little just the crispness of going in and out is definitely above average, superior quality of cleanliness, and I love it. Just the timing is so tasteful there. And that's something too, because my thing is, if you imagine if the other crews had this type of cleanliness in their sets, we would be possibly having a different conversation with some of these rankings. But Just Jerk is one of the few, I mean, because it's the last one I'm watching, I think this is the one that really has that unrealistic cleanliness that is such a wow factor in and of itself. Their cleanliness is a wow factor, and that is what makes so many more things forgivable, like some of their movement may not be as complex as ambitious or One Mills, you know, but the wow factor is there on a facet that getting so many people to do something the exact same way is mad impressive. And I think that's something for them because they have a studio, like One Mill has a studio. I think they possibly had a lot of students be able to participate, or they have more connections to get people that are more fluent in their fingerprints and saturated in their fingerprints, that led them to a higher advantage, I think. Also, look there, a lot of their tricks that they choose to do, I've mentioned this with other crews, you don't want the camera to catch the magic behind the magic trick. For there, I did not see anything besides him falling back. Is there a mat there? I don't know. Do people catch him? I don't know. I sure hope so, because that would hurt if he fell down. But the important thing remains is that I got to see it all the way through to his toes lifting off, and he looked like he was a board falling off the back of that grouping of people. That is so impressive. Just the commitment that I'm seeing from everyone, not just the crew itself. I like Hulk's section a lot. I'm assuming this is Hulk's section, right? It is, and also they are doing unison, but notice they're not staying in the same place. They are traveling it around, and my outside is framing well. They're adding on when appropriate. And they're hitting certain beats together. They're framing it inward. It's still making it creative and interesting. Very complex. If Mike's song is the judge for this, it would make sense why he preferred this as well, because his familiarity or his fingerprints of movement are similar to a lot of these sequences that they're seeing. So if we're looking at, here's the thing, you can't get away, like, no human is 100% objective. You can be as objective as possible, but when it comes to overall feelings, or if you're dealing with a criteria that allows subjectivity to involve itself, and I really feel this is the case, because the criteria is more on the just number requirements, costume requirements, music requirements, and director requirements, I feel though that there's a lot of room for emotional preference here in comparison to other competitions. And I feel here, because when you look at your judges, Mike, if he is a judge with Kinja's, you know they have a lot of these intricacies like what you're seeing here, especially the sequence feels very much that way. Just the technique, he can appreciate the technique he's seeing. It matches the aesthetic and the tonal color of the particular type of instrument that we're hearing, which I really, really like. It sounds like clacking of percussion sticks, and I love it. He may really be more inept to pick them, not because of his relationship with them, because I know that Kinja's and Just Jerk have been on good terms, because Just Jerk has taught at Kinja's dojo before in the past, things like that. So there's been a connection and affiliation there. I'm not going to say that that's the reason why they won. I think that's unfair and inappropriate to state, because that's not true. They have the cleanest routine out of everybody that we're already seeing. But I also will say, though, that Mike probably had a preference with this one in comparison to some of the other ones, because this is this feels closest to his wheelhouse of expertise, so he's able to understand the complexity of what's being brought to the table. For me, I have some of these styles I can appreciate, but I can empathize with because of my training and background, and I would say Mike can do that as well, and some of the other judges possibly. But I really do like what Just Jerk has brought here. I think the only thing was just that very beginning, it just read to me that viral tutting situation that happened way back a couple years prior to this releasing, that it just made me feel like it was very predictable what I was about to watch. But that doesn't take away the proficiency and just the sheer impressiveness of what they executed, and I want to make that clear. That peel in with the tuts, all very clean. Now going from there, that's my point of they're in unison still, but they're not staying on the same midline. They're not staying up. They kept it up in the upper body, and then they dropped down, and they're melting the legs, and they're changing up the texture. So they melted the legs, and then they're allowing the arm to help infiltrate with the jump, having everybody do that. It was impressive when Just Jerk did it in their crew battle, but it's really impressive to have everybody's mama and them do it, you know? But you notice here, because it's an aerial shot, some people's legs are a little bit further out than other people's, but note that this is one of the first times that I'm really touching on the lack of cleanliness in the range of the legs. And they just got done jumping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's such a very petty thing to look at, and it really doesn't matter. When you hear even the crossovers are all the same with the roll down and they all come up. That looks really similar to what we saw earlier with J-Ho whenever they did that whole sequence on the floor. So that would be in my other note. In that very ending, it does look really cool to have everybody. And then it actually feels like we're going in reverse, because now we're back to that very opening sequence, but we have more people this time. It's not as refined, but it's still very clean. Yeah, so I think, like, I wonder if they wanted to take that approach conceptually where it started with the tuts, you know, and the peel outs and everything, and that very crisp formation, and then it went to J-Ho's group's breakout and they do their section, and then they started with that J-Ho influence with everybody, then they went back and they hit that section in a similar leveled format, and then they broke off in their beautiful basket runs. That lift, a lot of their lifts that we're seeing here do not look heavy laden, and that's very impressive too to really note. The breaking group here, the musicality is probably one of my favorites that we've seen. I would say execution, I really loved Ambitious's breaking crew, because we got to see them twice and they approached it in different ways. This was mad cool, where they went brr, when they hit that brr sound. And he landed right when the bass drops. The timing, even with the breaking crew, is refined to Just Jerk's caliber of cleanliness, and I love that. That was like, everything is seamless with this right here. Like, it's 4, 1, 2, not difficult. It doesn't look difficult for them at all. They take it, they bring it in, he goes around, they jump over, boom. It's so nice. And then you have them framing with a beautiful formation. Do you see how straight and clean this is? You know, my only note is, of course, what are you going to do with that fabric that you just used? They have it over there to the side, but, you know, very minuscule. Super cool. Notice that he has, and I paused a bad part. He has a little, I don't know what it is, but he has something he's using on his hands that actually really helps him be able to go around. So he's not using a straight palm. That's just so mad impressive, where you have all of these people, because it's also more too. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 8 people doing the breaking section, and most people I think had 3 or 5 at the most is what I saw. So they even have the quantity of the people representing breaking is really cool, and how they drop, it's very clean. Even the rolls are nice, and it complements what's happening in the center, and everybody around is hitting the other polyrhythmic elements of the track, which is why it frames so beautifully. That whole thing was so creative. He just propelled him backwards. That was really cool. And it went da-da-da-da-da-da, first part, da-da-da-da-da-da, second part. They built it really, really nice here. Here, and then next, boom. Like, the timing of the progression of the creative stacking that took place matched the music. The music was never neglected once. And I love that, because it's fitting in beautifully to the entire essence of what we're seeing being brought to the table. Yeah. And that peel out starting from the front and back, and I know that I have these 2 screens come up. Forgive me, it's really hard to find these without the VPN. Go back into the breaking near the tail end here. So they're still keeping the aesthetic of breaking by going into more of a top rock, which is very different than what we've seen from the get-go, but it's really nice to see everybody do it, or see this kind of environment. I know I'm missing stuff on the outside, but I know that it is really, I'm just seeing excerpts of it, but it looks really cool, where you have the marrying of the 2 different grooves. That groove, boom, like they're hitting it in such a different way, and everybody else, they're hitting it in freezes. But it's clean. The whole thing was clean. I have 0 qualms with that. That's definitely probably going to be one of the cleanest Megacrews you'll ever see on the street series. That is very difficult to do. It is, without, like, and the turnaround time is phenomenal on this. It really is. I think too, they've always done well at competing at competitions because I feel like they understand what the criteria is for that assignment, and they know how to still look like themselves within the criteria. They don't get intimidated by it. They use it as a way to figure out, okay, how can we still be ourselves, really push the envelope, push us, but also still present something that is of good quality and that still looks like us. And I think this was brilliant. This was wonderful. And it's definitely one of the best mega crews that I have seen in a while. This is awesome. I loved it. Definitely a fan. I've always been a fan of Just Jerk, but this makes me, this still validates my feelings of I'm still very much a fan of them. This was awesome. If I were to take a look at the lineup here, I think I understand the placement of all of them. There is a video that I do intend, after I wrap this filming up here, that I do intend on looking at is, I would say, the results of Whedon Boys, because I really love, they were clean. I really love the aesthetic of what they brought to the table, but pretty much most of the crews were clean. But I'm just curious about the whole, I want to see what the fight judges say. I think about theirs to see, and it helps me understand what they were focusing more on. Were they focusing more on the dancing or focusing more on the concept? Because based on this, it looks like they focused more on dancing, because if you notice here with Just Jerk, they didn't really have as much of a concept as 1 Million did, right? Or as Whedon Boys did. They really focused more on the dancing and the refinement of the cleanliness of it, and they really just wanted to showcase what makes them them. Everybody looks like themselves, and I think I am very happy with that. And everybody, I think, had areas where they could improve. I think with Just Jerk, something that I would love to see from them is just pushing the envelope in the transitions a little bit more than just basket runs. I really feel like because we have the crisp and the cleanliness down, I'm curious what it looks like when Just Jerk thinks through, if they had more time, of course, what it looks like instead of doing a basket run, doing a different technical element that enhanced the basket run or made it look more, it still made it match the aesthetic of what they were doing. And it doesn't take away from other things going on, but it also doesn't look like a basket run, So that's my really big note for them, because I think they're at the caliber that they could explore that, and I think it would be really cool to see the results of that too. Thank you guys so much for watching. What a rodeo, man. Am I right? I think this is just fabulous. I loved all of the crews. It's wonderful that I had the opportunity to take a look at all of them, and I definitely look forward to the discussions on all of them too. Please note that I absolutely love watching dances, and I love being able to provide feedback or ways that every crew, I think, could have enhanced or done their stuff better. But I don't want anything that I say to discredit the fact that the turnaround time, the number of people they had to work with, the mental state that they were in with the pressure of the competition, and just the workload that comes with these types of things is second to none. And I have so much respect for them, and I cannot be any more proud to be in this position, to just be able to just share joy of what I love about these types of things. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the other challenges with these groups. It's gonna be awesome. I will catch you on the flip side. Bye guys.